with an opening statement, then we'll move on to questions.
Yeah, what a hard-fought battle. I thought after the first couple minutes, I thought West Virginia set the tone. I thought Harrison and Cook at the top of the press really, really bothered us. Don't think we ever handled that at an elite level. And I think it's something we've typically done pretty well against them, and today we didn't. And I thought that got them going in transition. We fouled too much. Certainly we ended up shooting a lot of free throws as well, but I thought we didn't have a lot of foul discipline in the first half when we turn it over, when they get in transition, and when you turn the ball over 30 times and give up 22 offensive rebounds, you're probably not going to win. So that had a lot to do with West Virginia today. So they definitely deserved this one.
Coach, what is it about this press that gives people such trouble?
They're super handsy up at the front, Jordan Harrison, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I think that front of that press, Cook, last year was Quinterly, this year is Cook. They do such a good job of making you uncomfortable and mixing up when they're going to trap and when they're not going to trap. I thought when we didn't handle it early, they smelled blood in the water, and I thought they were more aggressive, and we didn't do a good enough job of playing over the top and attacking in 2-on-1 situations. And that's probably my fault in terms of some of the time who I had when we played over the top, not necessarily being someone that was an attacker. And so I just think they play off each other really well. And if you beat them, they hustle back into the play. Harrison never quits on a play. I think Cook is playing really, really hard for Mark, and I just think they keep coming, and so I think it's really has a lot to do with those two at the top. I think Shaw is a lot better this year than she was last year in the press. I think she's just really elevated. You could pick on her side last year because you sure couldn't on Watson. And so I just think she's really grown, and so it's just the mixture. It's when is Harrison going to be on ball? When are they going to be just be in the 2-2-1 and face guarding and that type of thing. So they just come at you a lot of different ways, but a lot of it has to do with that fear of the pressure. If they're going to trap you, if you should just go off the bounce, when you should give it up, and I thought they did a good job most of the night covering the middle.
Yeah, what were they doing in the middle? I mean, you get only 8 points in the paint. What were they doing in the interior that was preventing anything in there?
No, that was our fault. I thought in their man, they weren't guarding our fives at all on the perimeter, and so he was kind of tandeming with his 4-5, and so if we went with any of our side ball screen continuity, they were just kind of exchanging. One would take the roller, one would take the riser. So they really kept their fives in the paint. Like they just were like, we're going to dare your fives to shoot it. Kirsten Johnson shoots a good percentage, but didn't make that first one. And I think sometimes it's not unlike it's always harder for players to shoot when they feel disrespected. When someone's playing off them and it's not like a rhythm shot. Should I shoot it? I'm open all the time. When should I shoot it? And so I thought that had a lot to do with it. I also thought we rushed shots at the rim. We had layups. We had layups in transition. We should have had more points in the paint. I just thought we rushed it up. And against a team that doesn't block shots, there wasn't really a reason for us to do that. So I thought some of that was on us, and I think some of it was them leaving their fives in the paint all the time. Literally, not going to barely come to the high post to guard us.
Running your press breakers, how different are the things you have to do when you're going against a zone versus going against a straight man or a double? And is that recognition the most important thing for y'all to break it?
It's not recognition all the time as much as I like to say no teammate left behind. It's kind of having a feel. I thought we had players hiding. Just not really wanting to get in the mix. And so you can put any press breaker you want, but it's kind of about finding an open gap and calling for the ball, an open person yelling. And I don't think we did a good enough job of that, which put us in more of over dribble, when do we give it up, not stretching. If you're being dribbled at down the sideline, that person down the sideline's got to stretch so that gap is longer. And we didn't do some of those things that we had worked on. I thought for us, and I really want to give credit to West Virginia. Mark does a great job, and I thought the game plan was good, and I thought they did a good job. But this is the first game in a long time that our execution hasn't matched like what we worked on, where it's like I don't really and it wasn't an effort problem. I think our players played really hard. I thought they kept playing all game long. I just don't think our execution, whether it was against the press, whether it was against the 2-3 matchup, and I thought our preparation was really good. Sometimes coaches get up and say, I knew. No, our preparation was good. I think our kids have had good energy the last 3 days in preparation for this game. I think our game plan was good. I don't think we executed it, and I probably didn't do a good enough job making enough adjustments to maybe burn them a few more times as opposed to being like more conservative, breaking it, playing in the half court, but being like a much more aggressive playing the long ball part.
Coach, they shot 23 more shots than you. You think
Yeah.
with the turnovers and the rebounds, you just didn't have enough possessions?
Of course. Yeah, it's kind of amazing that it was as close as it was. Obviously some of that was the free throws. But, honestly, I felt like when we didn't handle their pressure well early, like when we were getting stops and they were in their man, and I felt like we didn't do a good enough job. I thought there was some illegal screens called that weren't illegal, that could have put us in good rolling situations. But that aside, I think their pressure just kept amping up, which then did lead to more hand checks and us just saying you just gotta have to put your head down because they're denying and they're being really aggressive and they were fouling and we were fouling, and it was ugly at times. But this wasn't an officiating issue. Like my only officiating question was why did you go look at one hit to the head but not another? If I had a question, but I don't think it was a problem of officiating. For us, it was a problem of executing.
In regards to Jordan, what separates her from other guards you guys have faced this season, especially in the Big 12?
She's a really good player. Obviously, her and Bugs played in middle school together, and then they played in high school and won a state championship together. I think she's a player that, puts her head down and makes plays at the rim. But I think her greatest value for them is her ability to set the tone defensively. When he brought her here with him from Stephen F., it gave him someone that already knew the system, that could really lead at a very young age because she was further ahead than anyone that was here, including an All-American guard in Quinterly. And so I think she just has a ton of confidence in what they do, why they do it, and is leading a team that people probably thought would drop off a little bit after the loss of Quinterly and Watson, and all they've done is continue to be really, really good and really good at what they do. And so I think she's a player that, has not necessarily shot the three particularly well in conference play, but can get downhill and really put pressure. But it starts for her, her impact is at the defensive end. It's with the press. She's so good at digging in on drives, coming up from behind. You fear her because of her quickness and transition. You fear her because of her defensive prowess.
Coach, this is now kind of officially the second half of the conference season, and the last couple of years you guys have, and I guess Mark has too, been in that position where it's kind of 4 or 5 team race for that top spot, and then as the weeks go on, maybe a team dwindles off. Well, what separates teams at this time of the year from a team that's going to reach the top as opposed to a team that is in a position but maybe
Yeah, it's usually talent, execution, and experience. It's certainly when you look at the teams at the top of our league, you've got a lot of teams with a lot of seniors, some with 5th and 6th year seniors, and you look at teams like a Kansas State that sometimes has 4 freshmen out there at once, and you're just amazed at how good they are relative to how young they are. But I think a lot of times when it comes down to the consistency of winning that you have to do to stay in the race, it's the ability to bounce back too. I think it's taken, last year, we obviously played TCU on the last game of the year where the winner is conference champions. And it comes down to 3 losses, and 4 losses have won this league because this league is better than the media tends to give it credit for. And I think you see a lot of different styles. Like, you just don't face what Mark does in any other game all year long. You just don't. And that makes them unique and different. And, and so you gotta show up in a different way every game. So are you mature enough to prepare the right way and then execute those things? But you also obviously, like, you gotta have the talent to get it done. You can be a great coach, and if you don't have kids that can put the ball in the basket or finish, then you're probably not going to win out in the end. But I think a lot of it comes down to experience, being in those situations, and also, can you bounce back? Like, I don't like losing this game. Coaches don't like losing. My biggest question right now is, who will we be, on Wednesday? Like, that's the important thing for us right now, because to me, there's a lot of teams in this league that still control their own destiny, and we're one of them. So what we do next matters in terms of what our goals are in winning a conference championship.
Anything else? All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.